anything from Jane Austen to C.S. Lewis. This is easily my least favorite. She's kind of nasty. I've always really enjoyed historical fiction. I don't know why it's taken me so long to realize that I just really like historical fiction. I really disliked it. Those are my big suggestions from this video. Hello and welcome to today's video, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. I hope you like this video and I hope you subscribe if you do. Today we're going to be talking about some books that I've been reading since the beginning of this year. And I think one I actually read late last year. It has been a while since I've done a video like this. If you've been watching, you may know, and I'll leave linked. I had a goal to read, to collect and read about 500 books before I turned 30. I'm currently 28. And last year I kind of fell off the bandwagon when I had my son back in September, and we also had an incredibly busy summer, moving houses and traveling for my husband's job and things like that. So I haven't done a great job of keeping up on my goal, but I'm doing fairly decent this year. I mean, I'm still not really on my way to 500, but at this point, I guess it's just as many books as I can read before I'm 30. So we'll see what that number looks like when we get there, I suppose. So yes, I have the books here with me. The only books I don't have are the chapter books I'm reading with my daughter. We've been reading some Magic Tree House books, and I don't have those. But you can look back to some of my previous reviews and see what I thought about the Magic Tree House books then. So let's kick it off strongly. These are in really no particular order, not the order I read them in or the order I like them in. However, this is easily my least favorite of all the books I read. This was gifted to me by my sister. I have no clue where she got it or why she picked it up, or if it was recommended to her or something. This has a lot of negative reviews online. It has some that are really good reviews, some that are really bad reviews. I feel like I didn't really have any negative feelings of it until I started reading some of the bad reviews, and then I was like, oh yeah, I'm starting to see what you're talking about. It was just a nothing burger. I'm not really sure what the point of this book was. I think it kind of starts out with a coming of age story. This young kid is trying to figure out who he is and what he wants with his life and whatever. And then it just kind of ends, I don't know, somewhat anticlimactic to that point. I also just disagree inherently with some of the morals of this book. Being a Christian, I don't feel like this is telling. It's kind of like a parable, but it's not a Christian parable. It's very much modern, new age spirituality type of maybe parable. Not that I know that much about new age spirituality, but if I had to guess, they'd probably like this book. Yeah, not my cup of tea. 0 stars out of 5. That's the nice thing about making videos. Instead of just rating them on Goodreads, Goodreads won't let you do 0, but I will. And by 0, I just mean literally the way I rank books, I guess, on Goodreads is the likelihood I would be to read it again. How much would I want to read this again, even if I don't ever have any intention, if that makes sense. Some books are just they're a once in a lifetime read. You know what I'm talking about. It's a good book, but it's I don't need to read that again. And so if there's 0% chance I'd ever read it again, it gets 0 stars. So 0 stars. All right, the next is part of a series. I found Tessa Afshar, is how I'm going to pronounce her name. I found her this year. Someone told me about her book a couple years ago, Pearl in the Sand, which I do have here. It's actually the last book, but somebody told me about that, and I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. It sounds like a lot of the Francine Rivers books I like to read, but even better because it takes biblical characters and puts things into that biblical context, whereas Francine Rivers is typically doing things after the biblical time period. So yeah, this is about, so yeah, also kind of, I guess a big difference is all the books I've read by Tessa Afshar so far have been Jewish based, like the characters are Jewish, they're from the Old Testament, whereas the like Francine Rivers books are Christian based, like the main protagonists are Christians. Anyways, all that to be said, I really enjoy her style of writing. If you like Francine Rivers, you probably will like this. I will say one thing about this book, just as a disclaimer, just in case you hate it. You don't say I didn't warn you. These books by Tessa Afshar and to some extent Francine Rivers, they depict the perfect woman, like so devout in her faith, or if she's like coming to the faith, then she's like from the very beginning she's like turning away from her sin without even like knowing God. She's like so, good and so moral and so, and she's also beautiful and she's, perfect in her like, and then she finds love with like maybe an unexpected person or whatever, and so like they kind of butt heads because they're so different or so the same or whatever, you know what I mean? But like I see how that could be like irritating to some people. I personally love it because I find them to be like aspirational. So yeah, I really enjoy reading these books. The Queen's Cook, yeah, it's about a girl who obviously becomes a cook for the Queen, Esther, and Esther like befriends her, and yeah, it's just about like kind of, yeah, I don't know, it's just kind of about like her story, I guess, and how like Esther, like to some extent it's also about Esther, but it's a good book. I would rate that 5 stars out of 5 because I will, almost positively be reading that again. Then I have Ella Enchanted. This is, it's very interesting. I've seen the movie with Anne Hathaway, a pretty good movie. I actually enjoy the book a lot more than the movie. It makes a lot more sense, like the storyline of it. I feel like Ella Enchanted, the movie, basically was like, let's tell Cinderella with some extra pizzazz. Whereas this is like, yeah, we're telling the story of Cinderella, but it's like very much different. It's like loosely inspired by Cinderella, whereas I feel like the other one was definitely going more down a Cinderella route. Yeah, I don't know. It was good. I don't know that I would ever like pick it up to read it again. Maybe like potentially like a 3-star, but because it's a children's book and I will most likely be reading it to my daughter, I'm going to give it 4 stars. Okay, pivoting back to Tessa Afshar. This is The Royal Artisan. So this is the second one in the Queen Esther's Court series. So it goes the Queen's Cook, The Royal Artisan, and then I believe the third and final one is coming out this fall of 2026. And I'm really excited to read that one as well. I didn't like this one as much as the Queen's Cook, but I will say it was like a bit of a slower burn, I guess, for me. Like the beginning of it, I was like, okay, like sure, yeah, it's fine. As I got more into it, I liked it more and more as I went. So I feel like that's really cool too. I liked the Queen's Cook a lot the whole time. So yeah, but this one was good. Yeah, I don't know that I have that much to say about it. It was just a good, romantic historical fiction, biblical fiction, but with lots of romance. It's like serving God and falling in love. And I'm like, those are my 2 favorite things. So that's perfect for me. Then I have Dear America. I loved these books when I was little. We would have like a library. I don't know if they still do that in elementary schools. Like we would have all of our specials. So we'd have like music, art, gym, and we would also have library. And during library, it was literally just like sustained silent reading. Sometimes they would take like a day and teach us the Dewey Decimal System or something like that. But in general, it was just us doing reading, which I hated reading when I was a kid. And so I hated it. But when I found these books, historical fiction, I've always really enjoyed historical fiction. I don't know why it's taken me so long to realize that I just really like historical fiction. Yeah, and I've always liked history, like in school, like learning history. So I don't know why it took me like 27 years to put it together, that like historical fiction is probably one of my favorite genres. But yeah, it just is. So this follows, a girl. She's an American girl. Like her dad is, I think, part of the like army or whatever. I guess I could be misremembering. This is the one I read actually late last year, so it's been a while. But yeah, she's like American living in Hawaii. She's not like native Hawaiian. She's American, as you can kind of tell from the cover. And so yeah, it's basically just like a diary from her perspective. I loved these books, and there was one, it was like Princess, it was like the Royal Diaries or something like that. I will like try to leave like an image of what I'm talking about. Let me know if you remember those books, because they were my all-time favorite. I believe they follow like real historical like figures, but like obviously it's like a fiction story about them. Yeah, I don't know. I loved it. I love that kind of stuff when I was a kid. So I definitely want to like build my collection of that for my kids to read. I also read Mary Poppins. I've never read this book before. I really disliked it. Oh yeah, for this one, I would give it a 4 out of 5, just because this particular story wasn't my fave. But this one is gonna get a 2 out of 5. There was particular stories in here that I was like, I really don't like Mary. She's kind of nasty. I really like the movie, the portrayal. I'm a Julie Andrews stan, and I really liked her portrayal of Mary Poppins and like how they adapted it. But like, I don't know. I don't like this story. Like, she's very conceited. I don't know. She just is. Mary is. I don't like her. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. If you've read Mary Poppins and you like it and you understand it, can you explain to me why she's actually why she's not actually a terrible person? Because I don't know, it wasn't for me. So I won't be purchasing any more of that series for the time being. Okay, and then like I said, I've read 4 Magic Tree House books with my daughter so far this year. We read other books as well that are not chapter books, so I don't really include those in my count. So yeah, just 4. So that has brought my total up to, I think including the one I read last year, it's like 11. But yeah, last one, Pearl in the Sand. This is what got me into Tessa Afshar. This is the one that was recommended to me. Read this book, loved it, and then like actively sought out more of her stuff, which I also loved. I'm trying to think, did I love this one more than the Queen Esther ones? I don't think so. I think I liked the Queen Esther, especially the Queen's Cook. I think I loved the most. And then maybe this one, and then the Royal Artisan. Maybe that's my order. And this one's good. This one follows Rahab. So Rahab, like from the Old Testament, from, the book of, what would that have been? Joshua? Is that, yeah, I think Joshua. That Rahab. Yeah. I don't know. It's just good. It's like, it's so cool to see their story from like a different perspective. And like, obviously if you read the Bible, you know that like Rahab does marry into the Israelite nation. She becomes like a proselyte and then ends up in the lineage of Jesus. So she ends up having a baby named, what's that baby's name? I can't remember. There's a baby, and then that son has another son, which is Boaz. Who's Boaz's dad? I keep wanting to say Obed, but I think that's David's granddad. So I think that'd be like Ruth. Ruth and Boaz had Obed, who had Jesse, who had David, King David. So she would have been like King David's great grandma. Yeah, and so then she ends up in the lineage of Jesus, which is super cool. It is so cool to me when a story can bring a character in the Bible, like bring it from just like a character to like a real person. And I feel like just giving her her own story makes her feel so much more real to me. And just like the love and respect that I have for her is so much higher now because I can imagine what her life would have been like. And obviously this isn't reality. Like this is not exactly what happened, but maybe there's parts of this that did like hit the nail on the head. Maybe there's certain parts of it that like are super realistic. And even if it's not, it's just easier for me to imagine her with a story and a history now, rather than just like, yeah, so she did that one thing and then she got married. Like, no, obviously there was so much that had to transpire between those two things happening. And so it was just really interesting to get her perspective on it. Yeah, so I highly recommend. This is definitely a 5-star for me, just like the 2 Queen Esther books are both 5 stars for me. I will definitely be rereading. Yeah, can I just say, it's so cool. Like I said, when I was little, I did not like reading. And I think it's just, or I did like reading. I liked reading the books I liked. You know, I didn't like the books that they made me read in school. I was very picky. Like, but I read the Harry Potter like 3 times when I was in like 5th, 6th, 7th grade. You know, I would read like the Hunger Games in like 2 days. And so when I found a book I liked, it was super easy for me to read it. And I don't know, just something about realizing like who I am as a reader is such a cool feeling. It's like it's like I've discovered part of myself. Like, and it's like, yeah, I knew that I really liked historical fiction when I was in the 3rd grade, but I didn't think about it in like a big way like that. I was just like, oh, I like that book. And now kind of like discovering that about myself is very fun, and can drive me to find more books that I will probably like, which is really exciting. So, if you're like me and you like classical literature, if you like, I really like, you know, historical fiction, especially Christian-based historical fiction, and I like philosophical books and things like that. You know, some of my favorite books are like Pride and Prejudice, but I also really love and pretty much anything by C.S. Lewis. I'm currently reading The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis, and it's a doozy. It is a tough one. I got Abolition of Man and Great Divorce at the same time, and I read Great Divorce early last year, and I loved that book. And I picked up Abolition of Man, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's just so different. It's like Great Divorce is like narrative, whereas Abolition of Man is philosophical. And yeah, I just don't know that I came into it with the right mindset, but yeah. So if you like those kinds of books, anything from Jane Austen to C.S. Lewis, I definitely recommend Tessa Afshar. Obviously, I've recommended in the past Francine Rivers. Yeah, okay. Those are my big suggestions from this video. These 3. Although the other ones were pretty good too. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I always appreciate when anyone is willing to watch something that I make. I love building this community. And I just want to point out, I definitely I feel like I have, in talking about finding like my identity as a reader, I don't know that I've found my identity as a content creator. I love, you know, sharing just everything about my life. I just love sharing every aspect of it. I think it's just so like fun and eclectic, and I haven't necessarily pigeonholed myself into one thing or another. So, you know, you may have found me from my book stuff, but I also have a lot of other like motherhood and lifestyle content. I have 3 kids. 1 of them is adopted. 2 of them have Down syndrome. And, you know, I'm a Christian. My husband's a youth minister. I am a homeschool mom. I love to like embroider and sew. So I'm a very multifaceted person, and I enjoy sharing every aspect of my life on here. And so even if you've come for one thing, I hope that you like spending time with me enough to go check out some of my other content. And hopefully just we can keep getting to know each other and building this community of like-minded individuals. So again, thank you so much for watching this. Each and every one of you is so special to me that you take the time to watch everything that I put out. So thank you so much, and I will see you guys in the next one, which will probably be maybe like a baby-led weaning or something like that. I've been working on my baby-led weaning video and it's not quite ready yet. So we'll see what comes out next, but it won't be book related. I do know that. So yeah, I hope you stick around for that one as well. Like I said, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you'd like to know when I post, and I'll see you in the next one.